could forgive the mysterious charges. I could maybe forgive the late nights. But when I found the joint credit line she opened in my name, I went scorched earth. I stared at my phone screen, the credit alert glowing like a warning light on a busted solar panel. Tuesday morning coffee had turned bitter in my mouth. New joint account opened, First National Bank. Credit line, $47,000. My hands, weathered from 15 years of solar installations, permanent grease under the nails, actually shook as I read it again. Sarah was still upstairs, her breathing soft and even through our bedroom door. I could hear the old house settling around us, the same creaks and sighs that had been our soundtrack for over a decade. $47,000. I'd never set foot in First National Bank. Hell, I barely knew where it was located. The kitchen felt different suddenly. Morning light streamed through windows that had watched over 15 years of marriage, but now everything looked off. Like when you're troubleshooting a solar array and can't pinpoint the fault, but you know something's wrong with the system. I pulled up the bank's website on my phone. The account showed yesterday's date, Monday, October 14th. I'd been at the Morrison farm all day Monday, installing a residential array in the mud and drizzle. Came home covered in dirt, found Sarah already in bed with a book. "Morning, honey." Sarah's voice made me jump. She glided into the kitchen like she always did. Blonde hair perfectly styled despite claiming she just rolled out of bed. Her silk robe caught the light, expensive fabric that always made me wonder how much our household budget could really handle. She kissed my cheek, lips tasting faintly of mouthwash, which was odd since she hadn't been to the bathroom yet. I held up my phone, the alert still burning on the screen. "Did you open a new credit line yesterday?" Her laugh came too fast, too bright, like a solar inverter cycling under load. "Credit line? What are you talking about, Caleb?" She moved to the coffee maker, turning her back to me. Her shoulders went rigid beneath that silk robe. I watched her pour coffee with hands that weren't quite steady. "First National Bank," I said, keeping my voice level. $47,000 credit line. Opened yesterday while I was at Morrison's." "Oh, that." She waved a hand without turning around. "Just some paperwork thing. You know how banks are, always sending notifications about nothing." The morning news droned from the television, some story about interest rates and economic indicators. Outside, I could see our 12-year-old Emma waiting for the school bus, backpack slung over her shoulder, breath visible in the cold air. Everything looked normal. Everything felt wrong. "Paperwork thing?" I set my coffee down, the ceramic mug clicking against the granite countertop we'd saved 2 years to afford. "Sarah, this says we have a joint credit line. I didn't sign anything." She finally turned around, her smile too wide, too practiced. "It's just a pre-approval thing. Banks do it all the time. Nothing to worry about." But I was worried. In my line of work, you learn to trust the data. Numbers don't lie. Systems don't malfunction without cause. And my wife was giving me the kind of explanation that would get you fired from any solar installation crew. By noon, I was 40 feet up on a maintenance platform at the Greenfield Solar Farm, checking inverter connections under a sky the color of old steel. The massive arrays stretched toward the horizon like mechanical flowers, each panel angled to catch maximum sunlight. My tablet showed perfect efficiency ratings across all sectors, every component functioning exactly as designed. Unlike my marriage, apparently. I pulled up my home energy monitoring app, a habit born from professional curiosity about our own residential solar setup. The data loaded slowly over the rural cell connection, pixels assembling into graphs and charts. Tuesday mornings always showed the same pattern: baseline consumption. Sarah at her job at the county assessor's office, kids at school, house in standby mode, refrigerator cycling, security system running, maybe the dishwasher on delay start. But yesterday's graph showed a massive spike. High energy usage from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. The kind of draw you'd see from running multiple high-power appliances simultaneously. Sarah had told me she was asleep by 10, claimed she was exhausted from a long day. I stared at the screen, my safety harness creaking in the wind. The data was clear as the Montana sky above me. Someone had been running serious electrical loads in our house while I thought everyone was sleeping. My sandwich tasted like cardboard as I sat in my truck, scrolling through weeks of home energy data. The pattern emerged like a fault line in bedrock, clear, undeniable, devastating. Friday night, October 10th, massive spike, 11 p.m. to 2:30 a.m. Tuesday, October 7th, same pattern, different duration. Friday, October 3rd, even longer until almost 4 a.m. Always Tuesday and Friday nights, always when I worked late shifts or overnight maintenance calls. The spikes were too consistent to be accidental, too high for normal household use. Someone was running major equipment in our house. Gaming computers, maybe. High-end electronics. The kind of power draw that would trip breakers if you weren't careful about load distribution. Sarah's explanations echoed in my memory like static on a bad radio connection. Book club on Tuesdays. Sister's house on Fridays. Early bedtimes because she was tired. None of it matched the data. My work phone buzzed, David calling from his auto shop in town. My brother's timing had always been questionable. Hey Caleb, quick question. Saw Sarah at the Riverside Casino last Friday night. Thought you were working the Morrison installation. My wrench slipped, nearly dropping 40 feet into the array's wiring harness. Casino? Sarah doesn't gamble. David's uncomfortable laugh crackled through the speaker. Well, she was at the poker tables with some guy in a suit. Looked pretty comfortable there, if you know what I mean. The words hit like ice water in my veins. Friday night, October 10th. The night with the energy spike. The night Sarah texted me. Book club running late, don't wait up. You sure it was her? My voice sounded strange, distant. Caleb, I've known your wife for 15 years. It was definitely Sarah. And whoever that guy was, he wasn't from around here. Expensive watch, fancy car in the parking lot. I stared at the solar panel's reflective surface, seeing my own confused face staring back like a funhouse mirror. The pieces were starting to form a picture I didn't want to see. That evening I sat in my home office, surrounded by the quiet hum of electronics and the faint smell of Sarah's lavender candles drifting down from upstairs. She was helping Emma with homework, their voices carrying through the old house's thin walls like echoes from a life that suddenly felt distant. My laptop screen showed months of energy consumption data, spreadsheets that told a story Sarah hadn't. Every Tuesday and Friday night, massive power draws. Every night she claimed to be elsewhere. The data didn't lie, couldn't lie. My solar technician's brain processed the information with mechanical precision. Someone was using our house for activities that required significant electricity. Activities that happened only when I wasn't home. I heard Sarah's footsteps on the stairs, her voice calling down. Caleb? You coming to bed soon? In a minute, I called back, my eyes never leaving the screen. But I knew sleep wasn't coming anytime soon. Not until I figured out what the hell was happening in my own house. Tyler's sneakers squeaked against the hardwood as he bounded into my office, his gap-toothed grin cutting through the spreadsheet fog that had consumed my evening. Dad, can you help with my science project? I minimized the energy consumption data, grateful for the interruption. My 9-year-old son clutched a shoebox filled with wires, batteries, and what looked like half the contents of my workshop. What are we building? I asked, pushing back from the desk. A circuit. Mrs. Peterson says we need to make electricity flow through different paths. Tyler dumped the components onto my desk with the enthusiasm only kids could muster. It's like your solar panels, right? Exactly like that. I picked up a piece of copper wire, automatically straightening the kinks. Everything has to connect properly, or the electrons can't flow. For the next hour, we worked side by side. Tyler's small fingers fumbled with the wire strippers while I guided his hands, showing him how to make clean connections. The familiar ritual of building something functional from scattered parts felt like medicine after the chaos of bank statements and energy spikes. "It's like a puzzle, Dad. Everything has to connect right," Tyler said, his tongue poking out in concentration as he twisted two wires together. The innocence in his voice made my chest tight. Here was my son, learning about circuits and connections, while upstairs his mother was, what, planning another night at her fictional book club, meeting with her mystery man in the expensive suit? "That's right, buddy. Every connection matters." I watched him carefully insert the battery, his face lighting up when the small bulb glowed. "See? When everything's wired correctly, it works perfectly." Tyler beamed at his success, then looked up at me with those trusting eyes that reminded me so much of my own at that age. "Will you help me explain it to the class?" "Of course." The words came automatically, but underneath them was a growing determination. Whatever was happening with Sarah, the kids couldn't know, wouldn't know if I could help it. Some puzzles were too dangerous for children to solve. After Tyler went to bed, I sat alone in the office again, but the energy data felt different now. Less like numbers on a screen, more like evidence of something breaking apart, something that needed to be fixed before it destroyed everything I'd built. Wednesday morning brought another credit alert that made my coffee taste like ash. $8,000. Cash advance. The notification glowed on my phone screen like a warning light on a malfunctioning system. Sarah was already gone. "Early meeting with a new patient," she'd said, kissing me goodbye with the same practiced affection that now felt as hollow as her excuses. The house felt larger without her presence, shadows longer in the October morning light streaming through our kitchen windows. I pulled up our joint checking account on my laptop, fingers hovering over the login screen. 15 years of marriage, and I was about to investigate my own wife like she was a faulty electrical connection. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd spent my career diagnosing and fixing broken systems. Now I needed to understand how my own life had short-circuited. The password was still Emma's birthday. Sarah hadn't even bothered to change that. The bank statements painted a picture in stark black and red numbers that no amount of creative accounting could explain. Cash advances, wire transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, payments to something called Riverside Entertainment LLC. Each transaction hit like a physical blow. Sarah's salary as a dental office manager was $3,200 a month. These expenses totaled more than double that. My methodical mind automatically cataloged each withdrawal, cross-referencing dates with my work schedule. The pattern was precise as clockwork. October 7th, $2,500 cash advance. I'd been working the Morrison solar installation, didn't get home until midnight. October 3rd, $1,800 transferred to REM Holdings. Another late shift, this one at the county's new array. September 30th, $3,200 payment to Riverside Entertainment. The night I'd driven to Billings for emergency panel repairs after a hailstorm. Every significant withdrawal coincided with my overnight shifts. Every mysterious payment happened when I was miles away, maintaining solar arrays under starlit skies, while my wife systematically destroyed our financial foundation. Tuesday morning hit me like a cold wrench to the gut. I spread Sarah's credit card statements across my workbench in the garage, each page a piece of evidence I couldn't ignore anymore. The laptop screen glowed next to them, showing the energy consumption data I'd pulled from our home monitoring system. Coffee steamed in my mug, but I'd forgotten about it 20 minutes ago. The numbers didn't lie. They never did. $200 cash advance on October 1st, 11:43 p.m. I checked the energy data for that night. Massive spike starting at 11:30, lasting until 3:15 a.m. Another $200 on September 28th, same pattern. Friday night, energy consumption through the roof while I was supposedly asleep. I grabbed my yellow highlighter and started marking correlations. Cash advance, energy spike. Cash advance, energy spike. The pattern repeated like clockwork. Every Tuesday and Friday for the past 2 months, my hands moved with mechanical precision, the same way I'd wire a solar array. Each highlighted line felt like another nail in a coffin I wasn't ready to close yet. The math doesn't lie, I muttered to the empty garage. The smell of motor oil and old cardboard boxes surrounded me, familiar and comforting. This was my space, where everything made sense, where problems had solutions and circuits had predictable outcomes. The garage door opener hummed overhead as a neighbor left for work. Normal people, living normal lives. Not sitting in their garage at 7 a.m., discovering their wife was... what exactly? The evidence pointed somewhere I didn't want to look yet. I pulled up another bank statement. Premier Party Supplies, $487.50 on September 25th. That was the night Sarah said she was visiting her sister in Billings. I remembered because I'd offered to drive her, said the truck needed highway miles anyway. She'd gotten that look, the one where her smile didn't reach her eyes. I need some girl time, Caleb. You wouldn't understand. Maybe I wouldn't, but I understood numbers, and the numbers said she'd charged Party Supplies the same night our house consumed enough electricity to power a small business. The kitchen door opened, and Sarah's voice drifted into the garage. Caleb, you out there again? I closed the laptop and gathered the statements. Time to test a theory. Sarah stood at the kitchen counter, pouring coffee with the kind of theatrical concern she'd perfected over the years. Her blonde hair caught the morning light streaming through the window, and she wore that blue robe I'd bought her for Christmas 3 years ago. Everything looked normal. Everything felt wrong. You're obsessing again, she said, not looking at me as I entered with the bank statements. All these spreadsheets and charts. It's not healthy, honey. That tone, like she was talking to a child who couldn't understand grown-up things. I'd heard it more often lately, especially when I asked questions about our finances. I set the papers on the counter and reached for my coffee mug. Just trying to understand where our money goes. We've been over this. She turned, and her eyes lingered on the highlighted statements a beat too long. I handle the household expenses. You focus on your solar panels. That's how we've always done it. Premier Party Supplies, I said, pointing to the charge. September 25th. What party? Her coffee cup paused halfway to her lips. What? $487 at Premier Party Supplies. Same night you visited your sister. Oh, that. She waved a hand dismissively. I helped Linda plan her anniversary party. She'll pay me back. Linda, her sister who lived in a studio apartment and worked part-time at a grocery store. The sister who'd called our house 2 weeks ago, asking if Sarah could loan her $50 for groceries. Must be some anniversary party, I said. Sarah's smile tightened. You know Linda, she likes to go all out. I nodded and took a sip of coffee. The bitter taste matched my mood. Working late again tonight? Book club, she said quickly. We're discussing that new romance novel. You know how those discussions can run long. Book club. Every Tuesday and Friday like clockwork. The same schedule as the energy spikes. Which book? What? Which romance novel? She blinked, and for just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Panic, maybe. You wouldn't know it. Something by that author I like. I nodded again, filing away another piece of evidence. Sarah had never read a romance novel in the 15 years I'd known her. She preferred true crime podcasts and home improvement shows. I should get going, I said, gathering the statements. Morrison site needs the inverters checked before the inspection. Caleb? Her voice stopped me at the door. Maybe we should take a vacation. Get away from all this stress. I looked back at her. She stood in the morning light, beautiful and familiar, and for a moment I almost believed we were just a normal couple planning a getaway. Then I noticed her hands trembling slightly around the coffee mug. After the Morrison contract closes, I said. We'll talk about it then. The Morrison solar farm stretched across 40 acres of Montana prairie, panels gleaming like mirrors under the October sun. I worked methodically through the maintenance checklist, but my mind kept circling back to the numbers. The pattern was too consistent to be coincidence. My multimeter clicked steadily as I tested connections. Click, check voltage, record reading. Click, check voltage, record reading. The rhythm helped me think, the same way some people meditated or went for runs. A $500 charge at Premier Party Supplies. Sarah visiting her sister. Energy consumption spiking at our house while I worked late shifts. Click, check voltage, record reading. The desert wind carried the scent of sage and something else. Rain, maybe, though the sky was clear. Weather could change fast out here, just like everything else apparently. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Text message from Sarah. Working late tonight. Don't wait up. Love you. Love you. 3 words that used to mean something. Now they felt like part of a script she'd memorized. I pulled up the Home Energy app on my phone, the same one I used to monitor our solar panels' output. Real-time data streamed across the screen. Current usage, historical patterns, efficiency ratings. Everything running normal for now. Sarah was probably getting ready for work, blow-drying her hair, making her lunch. But tonight? Tonight I'd watch the numbers spike again. Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. Payment overdue. Final notice. Wrong number, probably. I deleted it and went back to work. The sun climbed higher, and sweat started collecting under my work shirt. Panel maintenance was precise work. One loose connection could drop efficiency across an entire array. Kind of like a marriage, I thought. One loose connection, and the whole system could fail. By lunch, I checked 60 panels and found 3 minor issues. Nothing that couldn't be fixed with basic tools and attention to detail. If only everything in life was that straightforward. That evening, I sat in my hunting blind with a thermos of coffee and a pair of binoculars. The blind was positioned perfectly, 200 yards from the house, hidden by a stand of pine trees, with a clear view of our driveway and the main windows. Sarah thought I came out here to hunt deer. She wasn't entirely wrong. The sun had set an hour ago, and the house glowed against the dark landscape. Sarah's car was in the driveway, along with 2 others I didn't recognize. A silver Audi and a red pickup truck. The Audi looked expensive. Too expensive for anyone in Sarah's book club. I opened the energy monitoring app on my phone. Usage was climbing steadily. 8:47 p.m., and we were already pulling more power than we normally used all evening. Through the binoculars, I could see movement in the living room. Shadows passing by windows, lights turning on in rooms we rarely used. The garage door opened, and another car pulled in. A black sedan this time. My breath fogged the binoculars' lenses. October nights got cold fast in Montana, but I barely felt it. All my attention focused on the house I'd been paying for, maintaining, protecting for 15 years. At 11:47 p.m., the energy usage spiked dramatically. The app showed consumption levels I'd never seen before, like someone had turned on every appliance in the house simultaneously. Air conditioning running full blast in October, every light burning, the garage door cycling open and closed repeatedly. I counted 5 cars now. 5 cars at my house while my wife hosted her book club. The next morning, I spread the bank statements across my workbench in the garage. Coffee steamed in my thermos as I traced patterns with a yellow highlighter. Every cash advance followed the same blueprint. Rounded numbers, always from the same ATM. $500, $800, $1,200. Never odd amounts like $547 or $823. Someone was withdrawing specific stakes. The ATM location caught my attention. Corner of Industrial Boulevard and 5th Street. Warehouse District. I knew that area from installing solar arrays on the commercial buildings. Nothing there but 24-hour truck stops and storage facilities. During lunch break, I drove the 20 minutes to 5th Street. The ATM sat outside a convenience store with barred windows and flickering neon signs advertising lottery tickets. I parked and watched the foot traffic, mostly truckers and shift workers grabbing energy drinks. Inside, the clerk looked like he'd been working doubles for a week. Oil stains on his uniform, bloodshot eyes. I bought a coffee and described Sarah casually. Blonde woman, about 45, drives a white Honda. He nodded immediately. Yeah, she comes in with that insurance guy, always buying energy drinks and snacks around midnight. He rang up my coffee. They're weird about it too. Always pay cash, never use cards in here. My stomach dropped like I'd missed a step in the dark. Insurance guy? Tall dude, wears those expensive shirts. Talks about claims and settlements all the time. The clerk shrugged. They come in maybe twice a week, usually Thursday and Saturday nights. I drove back to the solar farm with my hands gripping the steering wheel. The pieces were forming a picture I didn't want to see, but my technical mind couldn't ignore the data. Sarah wasn't just spending our money. She had a partner. Friday night, I settled into the hunting blind with a thermos of coffee and my tablet showing live energy data. The October air bit through my jacket, but I barely noticed. At 11:15 p.m., headlights swept across our driveway. The same vehicles from Tuesday arrived in sequence. Silver Audi, red pickup, black sedan. Then a white BMW I hadn't seen before. Through the thermal imaging app on my phone, I watched heat signatures move through my house like ghosts. 4 people in the living room, 2 more in the kitchen. Someone else moving between the garage and basement. The energy consumption climbed steadily on my tablet. 847 watts, 1,203 watts, 1,847 watts. My house was pulling more power than a small office building. I documented everything with methodical precision. Arrival times, license plates, the systematic violation of my sanctuary. The desert night felt colder than usual as I watched strangers treat my home like their private club. At 12:23 a.m., a figure emerged from the garage carrying what looked like a metal briefcase. Even through the thermal imaging, I recognized the posture. Sarah. My wife of 15 years, moving through shadows like she owned the place, which, legally, she did. My hands shook slightly as I saved the footage to cloud storage. Not from cold, from the realization that I'd been living with a stranger. Saturday morning, Sarah found my evidence folder on the kitchen counter. I'd left it there deliberately while I showered. "You're spying on me now?" she demanded, her voice climbing an octave. The folder was open to the highlighted bank statements. "This is paranoid behavior, Caleb. Maybe you should talk to someone." She waved dismissively at my charts and energy consumption reports. "Your blue-collar brain is making connections that aren't there." The words stung, but I kept my voice steady. "Then explain the energy spikes." "What energy spikes?" But her face flushed red. "Tuesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. Our house pulls more power than a server farm during your book club meetings." Sarah's laugh sounded forced. "I don't have to explain anything to you. Maybe I like reading with all the lights on. Maybe your precious data is wrong." She slammed the folder shut and stalked toward the garage. "I'm going shopping. Try not to analyze my driving patterns while I'm gone." The garage door rumbled closed behind her Honda, and I opened the folder again. The numbers didn't lie. They never did. That afternoon, I installed motion-activated cameras in the garage, using my security system expertise. The setup was invisible, disguised among existing electrical equipment. Tiny lenses hidden behind junction boxes, recording to encrypted cloud storage. If Sarah wanted to call me paranoid, I'd give her something to be paranoid about. That evening, I reviewed footage from previous weeks stored automatically in the cloud. My blood chilled as I watched the first video. 12:47 a.m. last Tuesday. The garage door opens, and strangers carry cases and coolers into my home like they're moving in. Sarah appears in frame, directing them with hand gestures, pointing toward the basement door. She's wearing a black dress I've never seen before, expensive looking. Her hair is styled differently, more sophisticated than her usual ponytail. The timestamp showed exactly when she'd claimed to be asleep upstairs. I watched 3 more videos from different nights. Same pattern, same strangers, same Sarah playing hostess to people who treated my house like their private venue. My marriage dissolved with each frame. The breakthrough came when I recognized one of the strangers from Wednesday's footage. Tall guy in an expensive shirt, carrying a leather briefcase like he owned the place. I'd seen that face before. I scrolled through Sarah's phone photos from last month, the ones she'd left open on the kitchen counter. There he was, Marcus Blackwood, whose insurance claim paperwork I'd glimpsed months ago when Sarah was helping a friend. Cross-referencing Marcus's social media revealed photos at casino events and poker tournaments. His LinkedIn showed senior claims adjuster at Frontier Insurance. His Facebook was full of poker chips and tournament brackets. Suddenly, everything aligned into a devastating picture. The cash advances weren't for shopping or spa treatments. The energy spikes weren't from book clubs or crafting sessions. The late-night visitors weren't friends dropping by for wine and conversation. My house had become an underground gambling den. Sarah wasn't just having an affair, she was running a business. With my electricity, in my home, using my credit. The hunting blind felt like a tomb at 2:47 a.m., my breath forming small clouds in the November cold that bit through my Carhartt jacket. I built this place myself 3 years ago, 20 feet up in an old oak that gave me a perfect view of our house across the back field. Sarah thought I used it for deer season. She was wrong about that, like she was wrong about so many things. Through the night vision binoculars, Marcus's BMW pulled away from my driveway for the 3rd consecutive Tuesday. The headlights swept across the frost-covered grass as he navigated the gravel road that led back to the highway. I checked my phone. The energy monitor showed the spike ending precisely now. 847 kilowatt hours burned in 4 hours. Book club, I whispered to the darkness. Sarah's lie from earlier echoing in my mind. The mathematical precision of her deception cut deeper than any emotional betrayal could. My methodical nature demanded I understand the complete scope before acting. I'd spent 15 years building systems, solar arrays, monitoring networks, backup protocols. Everything had redundancy. Everything had a pattern. Even betrayal, apparently. I opened my laptop. The screen's glow harsh in the blind's darkness. The wireless connection pulled data from our home smart meter, cross-referencing energy consumption with Sarah's calendar entries over the past 14 months. Every Tuesday and Friday sister visit correlated perfectly with massive power consumption spikes. My solar technician's eye recognized the pattern immediately. Industrial lighting, multiple high-draw devices running simultaneously, sustained consumption that peaked between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m. This wasn't just lights and a TV. This was serious equipment. Not just an affair, I realized, my fingers steady despite the revelation spreading through my chest like ice water. The data told a story Sarah never intended to share. Our marriage had become a business operation I wasn't invited to join. The house I'd wired myself, the solar panels I'd installed to cut our energy costs, the monitoring system I'd set up to track efficiency, all of it had been turned against me. The credit monitoring app pinged again, the sound sharp in the quiet blind. Another $3,200 charge to the unauthorized First National line. My jaw tightened as I opened the banking portal using Sarah's saved password, the same one she'd used for everything since 2018. Her birthday backwards, like I wouldn't figure that out. The transaction history revealed a pattern more devastating than I'd imagined. Large cash advances every Monday, $2,000 to $5,000 each. Payments to Riverside Entertainment Services, a shell company I recognized from insurance fraud cases at my previous job with the county. Marcus's professional signature was all over this operation. The scope of their betrayal expanded beyond adultery into systematic financial theft. They weren't just using my house for an affair. They were running something bigger, something that required serious cash flow and industrial power consumption. Something that put my business, my credit, my entire financial future at risk. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Book club running late again. Don't wait up. XOXO." I screenshot the message, timestamp 2:51 a.m., while Marcus's taillights disappeared down our rural road. The casual cruelty of her lies settled into my chest like cold metal. Through the thermal scope, I watched our bedroom light flick on, Sarah moving through the house like she owned it, which, legally, she did. For now. My breath fogged the scope lens as I processed this new reality. Sarah wasn't just cheating, she was operating, using our home as a base for whatever scheme Marcus had pulled her into. The energy spikes, the cash advances, the shell company payments, it all pointed to one thing: high-stakes gambling. Underground poker games, that's what this was. Marcus, the insurance adjuster, with his claims experience and risk assessment skills, running games in my living room while I worked night shifts installing panels in remote locations. Sarah playing hostess, maybe playing herself, burning through credit lines I'd never authorized. The full weight crashed over me in the hunting blind's suffocating darkness. 15 years of marriage, 2 children, my expanding solar business, all built on lies I was too trusting to see. Sarah's gambling addiction, Marcus's exploitation, the systematic theft of my financial future. My hands shook for the first time, not from cold but from the magnitude of betrayal. "How long?" I whispered to the empty forest. The question had no answer, only the terrible certainty that my life as I knew it was over. But I was still a systems man, still someone who believed in data, in evidence, in building cases that couldn't be torn down by emotion or manipulation. I had work to do. I forced my breathing to steady, drawing on the same methodical calm that kept me focused during 12-hour panel installations. Emotions were a luxury I couldn't afford now, not when my entire life was collapsing around me. I pulled out my laptop, the screen's glow harsh in the hunting blind's darkness. A new spreadsheet, that's what I needed. Structure, order, something I could control when everything else was spinning apart. Column headers, date, energy usage, Sarah's claimed location, financial transactions, evidence type. The familiar rhythm of data organization grounded me, pulled me back from the edge of something I didn't want to fall into. If my marriage was ending, it would end on my terms, with irrefutable documentation. Sarah had chosen to make this a business transaction when she opened that credit line without my signature. Fine. I treated exactly like one. The hunting blind transformed into my war room as I scrolled through months of hidden camera footage on my phone. The security system I'd installed to protect our home had been recording everything. Sarah's body language told the real story. The nervous energy before book club, checking her reflection 3 times in the hallway mirror. The bone-deep exhaustion after sister visits, slumping against the kitchen counter like she'd run a marathon. And the way she counted cash when she thought I wasn't looking. 20s and hundreds, always hundreds, her fingers moving with practiced efficiency. Like a dealer. Marcus appeared in 17 different recordings, always carrying that leather briefcase, always checking his phone with the anxiety of a man running numbers in his head. They'd been using my house, my sanctuary, the place where my children slept, as headquarters for whatever operation they were running. The timestamps didn't lie. Every Tuesday and Friday, like clockwork. The nights I worked late installations at remote sites, when the drive home took 2 hours and I wouldn't return until after midnight. They'd planned it perfectly, calculated my schedule down to the minute. At 4:15 a.m., I found the evidence that stopped my heart. Sarah's laptop sat open on the kitchen counter. I could see it through the security feed. She'd been careless, probably exhausted from whatever had happened tonight. The screen showed her email, and even through the grainy camera resolution, I could make out fragments of text in her conversation with Marcus. Tonight's take was short again. We need to cover the VIG by Friday. Kay is getting impatient. My hands trembled as I zoomed the image, trying to read more. There, a number that made my blood freeze. $89,000. They owed someone $89,000. My solar business expansion loan had been approved for $90,000. The timing wasn't coincidental. Nothing about this was coincidental. They've been planning to steal my business loan, the culmination of 15 years of building my reputation, my client base, my future, to cover gambling debts. My life's work, reduced to collateral for their addiction. Something dangerous stirred beneath my methodical calm. The part of me that had learned to survive in the military before I channeled that intensity into solar installations and precise calculations. The part that understood how to dismantle systems completely. I opened a new folder on my laptop. Evidence. Hartwell versus Hartwell. For the next hour, I photographed every document, every email, every transaction with forensic precision. My technical background served me well. Metadata preservation, chain of custody, admissible evidence standards. The county inspector training from my early career had taught me how to build bulletproof cases. Sarah and Marcus had been sloppy, leaving digital footprints everywhere. Credit card statements in her email, screenshots of betting apps, text messages discussing tonight's game and bringing fresh money. The insurance adjuster should have known better, but addiction makes smart people do stupid things. My phone storage filled with evidence that would destroy them both professionally and personally. Marcus would lose his insurance license when his company discovered he'd been running illegal gambling operations. Sarah would face criminal charges for identity theft and fraud. Justice would be served with the same efficiency I brought to solar installations. Clean, systematic, and devastating. The first hint of dawn touched the horizon as I packed my equipment, the hunting blind suddenly feeling cramped and airless. My phone showed 47 pieces of documented evidence spanning 14 months. Every cash advance, every suspicious transaction, every lie Sarah had told while looking me in the eye. Her betrayal was complete, emotional, financial, and criminal. But the methodical man in me felt oddly calm now. The unknown variables were identified. The problem was defined. The solution became crystal clear. Divorce proceedings, criminal charges, asset protection, custody battle. Each step would be executed with the same precision I brought to every solar installation. Measure twice, cut once. Plan thoroughly, execute flawlessly. Sarah had chosen this war when she forged my signature on that credit application. She'd escalated it when she brought her gambling addiction into our home, around our children. I would finish it. The walk back to the house felt different somehow. My boots crunched through frost-covered leaves, but the sound seemed sharper, more purposeful. Sarah's car sat in our driveway, engine still ticking as it cooled. She'd probably collapse into bed, exhausted from whatever high-stakes game had run until dawn. Let her sleep. Let her think she'd gotten away with another night of deception. By the time she woke up, I'd have contacted 3 different attorneys and a forensic accountant. The methodical man was done being patient. Sarah's affair wasn't just about status or romance. She developed a gambling addiction that Marcus had been enabling and exploiting, and now they'd both learn what happened when you bet against someone who never lost a system. The conference room at Walsh Associates smells like leather and fresh coffee, the kind of professional atmosphere that makes my calloused hands look out of place against the polished mahogany table. Jennifer Walsh spreads documents across the surface with the precision I usually reserve for solar panel layouts. I sit motionless, my hands folded, watching each paper find its designated spot. The door opens and Sarah enters with Marcus trailing behind her. Her face goes pale when she takes in the formal setting, the diplomas on the wall, the legal documents, Jennifer's crisp business suit. Marcus looks like he'd rather be anywhere else, his insurance adjuster confidence already starting to crack. "Mr. Hartwell has filed for divorce," Jennifer states, sliding a thick stack of papers across the table toward Sarah. Her voice carries the same measured tone I use when explaining electrical systems to clients. Sarah's eyes dart to me, searching for some sign of emotion, some crack in my composure. But I stare past her at the wall-mounted diplomas, my expression as neutral as when I'm reading voltage meters. The fluorescent lights hum overhead like the solar inverters I know so well, that steady electrical buzz that means everything's running according to specifications. "Caleb?" Sarah's voice is small, uncertain. Can we talk about this privately?" I don't respond. Jennifer handles it for me. "All communication will go through legal counsel from this point forward," she says, tapping her pen against the contract. "Your husband has documented extensive evidence of financial fraud and adultery." Marcus shifts in his chair, the leather creaking under his weight. His hands, soft office hands, fidget with his wedding ring. I notice he's still wearing it. Interesting. Sarah's breathing becomes shallow as she starts reading the asset division. Her manicured nails, the ones she gets done at that expensive salon downtown, trace the lines of text like she's trying to decode a foreign language. "The house?" Her voice cracks on the words. "But Caleb, we can work this out. We've been married 15 years. Jennifer cuts her off with the efficiency of a circuit breaker. "Your husband documented unauthorized use of marital property for illegal gambling activities. The evidence is comprehensive." She opens a manila folder and slides photographs across the table. Poker chips scattered across our kitchen counter. Energy consumption charts with red circles around the spikes. Credit card statements with highlighted charges. Each piece of evidence laid out like components in an electrical schematic. Marcus leans forward, his face flushed. "Now wait just a minute. This looks like some kind of setup." $47,000, Sarah." My voice cuts through his protest, steady as a technician reading voltage measurements. "On my credit, without my signature." The air conditioning cycles on with a mechanical hum, drowning out Sarah's whispered protests. She's staring at the photos like they're evidence from someone else's life. "I can explain," she starts, but her voice trails off when Jennifer opens the thick folder containing months of documentation. The laptop screen flickers to life, showing security footage from our home system. There's Sarah, laughing as she deals cards to a table full of strangers in our living room. There's Marcus, sliding cash across our dining room table. The timestamp shows 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, the same Tuesday she claimed to be at book club. "Your client systematically defrauded the marital estate," Jennifer continues, her tone as precise as a wiring diagram. "The energy consumption data correlates perfectly with the gambling sessions. Mr. Hartwell's technical expertise allowed him to document—" "This is entrapment," Marcus interrupts, his voice rising. "You can't just spy on people in their own homes." My laugh comes out sharp and bitter, like the crack of an electrical short. "I install solar systems for a living, Marcus. I notice when power consumption doesn't match usage patterns. When my house is pulling 3 times normal load at midnight, that's a problem that needs investigating." Sarah slumps in her chair, mascara beginning to streak down her cheeks. The weight of technical precision crashes down on her like a collapsed electrical grid. She looks at Marcus, then back at the evidence spread across the table. "How long?" she whispers. "How long have you been watching?" 14 months, I reply. Since the first unexplained energy spike. Since the first unauthorized cash advance. Since you started lying about where you were spending your nights. The custody arrangement hits Sarah like a physical blow when Jennifer slides that document across the table. Her hands shake as she reads the terms. "Every other weekend?" Her voice climbs an octave. "But they're my children! Emma and Tyler are my babies!" Jennifer's tone remains professional, unmoved by the emotional display. "Your gambling addiction and financial instability were significant factors in the court's preliminary decision. The children's welfare takes precedence." I watch Sarah's face crumple as she processes the reality. Marcus reaches for her arm, but she jerks away from his touch like it burns. "Don't touch me," she hisses. "This is your fault. You said it would be easy money. You said nobody would ever find out." The pen scratches across paper with the finality of circuit breakers tripping. Each signature seals another aspect of our dismantled life. Outside, rain begins pattering against the windows, washing the city clean while our marriage dissolves in black ink and legal terminology. Marcus stands abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "I don't have to listen to this. Sarah, we're leaving." But Sarah doesn't move. She's staring at the custody papers, at the asset division, at the evidence of her own destruction spread across the mahogany table like the remains of a burned-out electrical system. "No," she says quietly. "I need to sign these. I need to finish this." 3 months later, I stand in my empty house, cardboard boxes stacked in the hallway like solar panel shipping containers. The silence feels different now, peaceful rather than ominous, like the quiet hum of properly functioning equipment instead of the electrical buzz that warns of impending failure. My phone buzzes against my hip. A text from Sarah. "Caleb, please, I need help. Marcus left me. The creditors are calling. I don't know what to do. Please just..." I delete it without reading the full message. The energy monitoring app on my phone shows normal consumption patterns for the first time in over a year. 2 kilowatt-hours overnight. Baseline refrigerator and security system draw. No mysterious spikes. No unexplained power surges. Sunlight streams through windows no longer shadowed by deception. I run my finger along the window frame, checking the seal with the same precision I once applied to solar panel installations. Everything tight, everything secure, everything functioning according to specifications. At Solar Tech Solutions' new office, I review blueprints for the Greenfield County contract spread across my drafting table. The business has tripled since the divorce, built on the reputation for meticulous attention to detail that first exposed Sarah's betrayal. Clients trust a man who notices when things don't add up. Emma and Tyler visit every other weekend, and they're adjusting well to the predictable routine. No more late-night emergencies that wake them up. No more strangers in the house. No more tension crackling through the air like faulty wiring. The office smells of fresh paint and possibility. My secretary knocks on the door frame. "Mr. Hartwell? A woman named Rebecca Chen called about residential solar installation for her property. She's an electrical engineer," she adds with a knowing smile. "Said she wants to discuss technical specifications with someone who actually understands the systems." I find myself curious about someone who shares my technical language, someone who might appreciate precision over promises, facts over feelings. I check my watch. Rebecca should arrive in 15 minutes for the site consultation. I straighten the blueprints on my desk one final time, ensuring each corner aligns perfectly with the grid lines beneath. The knock comes at exactly 2 p.m. Through the glass door, I see a woman in work boots and a flannel shirt, carrying what looks like a professional light meter. "Mr. Hartwell? Rebecca Chen." Her handshake is firm, calloused, an engineer's hands. I read about your Greenfield County installation in Solar Power magazine. Impressive efficiency ratings. I find myself actually interested in the conversation that follows. She doesn't ask about cost first, or mention her neighbor's system, or wonder if solar panels will hurt property values. Instead, she pulls out a tablet showing her home's electrical consumption patterns over the past year. Peak usage hits around 7 p.m. when I'm running simulations on my workstation. I'm thinking a 12-kilowatt system with battery storage to handle the computational load during grid fluctuations. We drive to her property in separate trucks. Her house sits on 5 acres outside town, positioned to catch maximum southern exposure. She's already calculated the roof pitch, 30 degrees optimal for our latitude. The south-facing roof gets 6 hours of direct sunlight, she observes, pulling out that light meter I'd noticed. But I'm concerned about shading from that oak tree between November and February. I watch her take readings, noting how she holds the device steady, waits for the numbers to stabilize before recording them. The same methodical approach I'd use. Trees not a problem. We can adjust the array configuration to minimize winter shading losses. I sketch a rough layout on my clipboard. Microinverters on the eastern panels, string inverters for the main array. She nods, understanding immediately. No need to explain the technical differences. No glazed look when I mention maximum power point tracking. The autumn air carries the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke from someone's fireplace. For the first time in years, I feel genuinely interested in someone. Not the desperate attraction I'd mistaken for love with Sarah, but something steadier, like the reliable current flow in a well-designed electrical system. "When can you start?" she asks, and I realize I've been staring at her profile while she calculates shading angles. 2 weeks. I'll have the engineering drawings ready by Friday. 2 years later, I adjust my tie in the mirror of the small chapel we've rented for the ceremony. The building runs entirely on solar power, a detail that makes both Rebecca and me smile when we mention it to guests. David straightens his boutonniere, grinning at my reflection. "Never thought I'd see you this nervous about anything, Caleb. You've installed systems in 100-degree heat without breaking a sweat. Different kind of precision required here. But I'm not really nervous. More like the focused calm I feel before connecting a new array to the grid for the first time." Emma appears in the doorway wearing the blue dress Rebecca helped her pick out. At 14, she's developing the same methodical approach to problems that got me through the divorce. "Dad, Rebecca wants to know if you remembered the rings." I pat my jacket pocket, feeling the small box. "Tell her the electrical systems are all functioning normally." Emma rolls her eyes but smiles. She's grown to appreciate Rebecca's straightforward approach to life, the way she explains complex engineering concepts without talking down to anyone. The ceremony itself is simple, efficient. No elaborate decorations or complicated traditions. Rebecca's vows include a joke about sustainable energy for sustainable love that makes the small crowd chuckle. Tyler, now 11, serves as ring bearer with the same serious concentration he applies to his math homework. The reception is held at the solar farm I designed last year, panels glinting in the sunset like a field of mirrors reflecting our bright future. Rebecca's parents flew in from California, and they spend most of the evening asking technical questions about the installation. Her father, also an engineer, seems genuinely impressed by the tracking system's efficiency ratings. "You built something good here," he tells me while we watch the panels automatically adjust to follow the descending sun. "Both the business and this," he nods toward Rebecca, who's explaining photovoltaic cell construction to Tyler's curious questions. I realize I've spent the past 2 years learning what partnership actually means. Not the exhausting vigilance Sarah required, always wondering what she wasn't telling me, but the steady reliability of shared goals and honest communication. 5 years later, I stand in the main office of Solar Tech Solutions, reviewing the state contract that will employ 43 people over the next 5 years. $12 million worth of rural electrification projects, each one requiring the same methodical attention to detail that first exposed Sarah's betrayal. Rebecca works at the drafting table across from my desk, calculating load requirements for a hospital backup system. Her engineering consultation has become essential to our larger projects. We function like a well-designed electrical circuit, complementary components working toward the same goal. "The Billings Medical Center specs came in," she says without looking up from her calculations. "They need 500 kilowatts of emergency power with automatic grid switching." I walk over to review her preliminary drawings. Her handwriting is as precise as mine, each number clearly formed, each specification exact. No ambiguity, no room for misinterpretation. "Battery bank will need to be substantial." I trace the power flow diagram with my finger. "Lithium-ion array with smart charge controllers. Already spec'd. Tesla power packs, integrated monitoring system." She points to a detailed component list in her neat handwriting. "Total project value around $800,000. Success tastes like morning coffee and feels like perfectly balanced electrical loads. In my office, I keep a framed photo of our first major installation together, a 200-panel array that still operates at 97% efficiency after 3 years. A reminder that precision and patience always pay dividends. My phone buzzes. Sarah's number, which I haven't seen in months. I let it go to voicemail. At 2:17 a.m., I lie awake, listening to the message Sarah left 6 hours earlier. Her voice is desperate, slurred with what sounds like alcohol or exhaustion. "Caleb, please, I need help. Marcus is gone. The creditors are calling every day. I don't know what to do. Please call me back. I know I don't deserve it, but I'm drowning here." Through my bedroom window, I can see the solar panels on our house, their surfaces clean and efficient in the moonlight. The monitoring app on my phone shows normal overnight consumption, 1.8 kilowatts for the refrigerator, security system, and Rebecca's workstation in sleep mode. Rebecca stirs beside me, her breathing steady and peaceful. She doesn't know about the voicemail yet, but she will. We don't keep secrets from each other. It's one of the fundamental design principles of our marriage. I realize I feel nothing for the woman who once shared my name. Not anger, not satisfaction at her desperation, not even pity. She's become like a disconnected solar panel, once part of the system, now just dead weight that needs to be removed for optimal performance. Some circuits once broken should never be repaired. I delete the voicemail without saving it. At Emma's high school graduation, I sit with Rebecca and Tyler in the packed auditorium, watching my daughter receive her diploma. She plans to study renewable energy engineering at Montana Tech, inspired by watching me build something meaningful from the wreckage of my first marriage. Emma Hartwell, graduating summa cum laude, recipient of the STEM Excellence Award, the principal announces. I feel Rebecca's hand squeeze mine as Emma crosses the stage. Tyler, now 13 and showing the same methodical personality traits that define our family, takes photos with the precision of a technical documentation specialist. Sarah appears briefly at the ceremony's edge, looking older and worn down by years of financial struggle. Her clothes are department store brands, not the designer knockoffs she used to prefer. Her hair shows gray roots she can no longer afford to touch up regularly. Our eyes meet across the crowd of families celebrating their children's achievements. I nod once, an acknowledgement, nothing more. She nods back, then disappears into the crowd like a shadow cast by faulty wiring. The afternoon sun streams through the auditorium windows, illuminating Emma's bright future and the solid foundation Rebecca and I have built together. That evening, as we celebrate at home with Emma's favorite dinner, my phone buzzes with a final text from Sarah. "I saw you at graduation. Emma looks so proud and happy. I'm sorry for everything I destroyed. I hope you're truly happy now." I show the message to Rebecca, who reads it while finishing her coffee. "Are you?" she asks quietly. "Happy?" I look around our home, solar-powered, efficiently designed, filled with the quiet contentment of honest work and genuine partnership. Through the kitchen window, I can see the latest installation humming quietly in our backyard, converting sunlight into clean energy with the same reliable precision I've applied to rebuilding my life. Emma and Tyler are arguing good-naturedly about college course selections at the dining room table. Rebecca's engineering journals are stacked neatly beside my solar industry magazines on the counter. Everything in its proper place, everything functioning according to specifications. "Yeah," I tell her, "I am." I delete Sarah's number from my phone with the same methodical care I once used to disconnect faulty electrical systems. Some connections are meant to be permanent, others need to be severed completely.